Let's go! Remy, what's up, brother?
Farline, what's going on, my man?
Week 4. All right,
Week 4.
man. I tell you what,
quarter of the way through the season.
Quarter-way through the season, that's exactly right. And I'm telling you, man, despite getting my shit pushed in this week, I am happy to be here. I'm glad to be doing this. Watching the 49ers versus the Rams, hoping for lots of injuries on both sides. But listen, man, before we get into too much small talk, before we came live and started to record, we had to give some props, man. Debo Samuel had a 50-yard run. He looks the closest to Marshawn Lynch in a wide receiver that I think we've ever seen. It's incredible.
I mean, I don't really remember too many wide receivers that play the game the way that he does. Maybe Steve Smith a little bit. I guess there's a little bit of Steve Smith in there. But I'm trying to think back to any wide receiver that after the catch is as good as him, but with the physicality that he brings. He's fun to watch. Andy, and enjoy him. Again, he got him back for me in one of our dynasty trades. And I still have him in another dynasty, so I don't lose too much. I wish I would have had a chance to draft him this year, but he went fairly early. So,
I mean, as you should have. But I'll tell you this. I mean, I know we're going to get into this more, but because we're filming right now,
I was wondering when he was going to come out and do something. He'd been a little slow to start the season. So,
no, I hear you, but I mean, because we're filming this live while the this Monday night game is going on, the 49ers are a different team with Jimmy Garoppolo than they are with
they're a better
Trey
team.
Lance. Oh my gosh, yeah. So I mean, all those guys got bumps.
Johnny Baloney in the thread threw out that the 49ers should have never drafted Trey Lance, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's hard to take that caliber of player from Division II, or whatever it's called these days, and they gave up a lot to move up to get him, and he has not panned out. You have to be accurate. And when you look at somebody like Josh Allen, who came from a little bit smaller school, who has the physicality and I think the athleticism that is on par with Trey Lance. The difference between him and Josh Allen became accurate, and that doesn't happen very often once you get to the NFL.
No.
But Bill Parcells always liked quarterbacks that could win the game and be accurate.
Yep. And
it's so hard to become accurate once you get to the NFL. And I think that you're seeing it a little bit play out with Fields for Chicago or Tim Tebow when he came along. They don't develop that accuracy very often, if hardly at all. Allen's one of the rarities, I think, in regards to that.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. My last point on this is, you take Trey Lance with the 24th overall pick, and you don't invest 3 first-round picks in him. You don't move up. You don't do all those things. You pick him at the 24th pick.
And then you create such lack of chemistry on the 49ers, where you have Jimmy Garoppolo not even practicing with the team, even though he's their best backup. They refused to cut because they knew that he was going to go to Seattle, and they didn't want him in division, so they keep him around. And it was probably for the best that they did, because with their running back situation that they have, they need to throw the ball a little bit better, and Trey Lance just wasn't there yet.
Yeah, no, that's all exactly correct. But
this isn't an NFL. This is not an NFL show. This is a fantasy show.
It's not. No, that's exactly right. But I would just say, just to finish my thought on that, is you pick him the 24th pick, you can sit him for 2 years. You don't have the pressure to play him. That's what Trey Lance needs. You're exactly right. Let's go ahead and move on. Hey, just to check in with you, man. How you doing? How's the week going? What's your
good? We have a game on Wednesday. We have a game on Wednesday. We're 1-1. Easily could have been 2-0. We lost in overtime last week or so. Looking forward to. I think we'll be able to win this game. It's against not a very good team, but looking at overall football, good week.
Yeah.
Raiders won, Seahawks won, Cougs won. So it's fun when that happens. Fantasy is a completely different story, and I'll go into that later.
Yeah, I thought this week was a lot of fun in the NFL. When I sat down and started to make my weekly picks, there's not a lot of just gimmies going on this week. There were some tough choices. I thought that
and I'm going to
Ravens
have to
game was
respectfully
really good.
disagree. I am on the other end of that spectrum, my friend. I do not think that the NFL has been good, and it definitely wasn't good this week.
Oh man, I don't know. I thought it was again. I thought it was a lot of fun. Underdogs had chances. Good week. So, on that same topic, what stood out to you this week, just from an overall league perspective?
Three things stood out to me. One, the injuries are starting to creep into the NFL. It's starting to affect NFL teams, but fantasy as well. And it's a shame because you lose guys that either you like watching, and I don't root for any injuries, even if it's against somebody I'm playing. I hate watching season-ending injuries, especially in the form of an Achilles tear or ACL, and even with the combined meniscus too with those ACLs, those just aren't easy to come back from. And so that's one thing. I think the other thing is there's not a great team in the NFL this year. I think probably the two best that we've seen are the Chiefs and the Eagles. And they have pretty good offenses, good enough defenses that kind of fly around and can make plays every once in a while. But the league is wide open this year. And then the third would be concussions. And the NFL's done a great job over the years of kind of removing some of the head injuries through the quarterback penalties or the defenseless receivers and just kind of the way that people are tackling and hitting these days. But Tua should have never been in that game. And the team did him and the coach did him a disservice by allowing him to even play. And so, as a coach, I would never let my player play in that next game if they had a concussion the week before. Like they're always more prone to getting a second concussion, and that second one's always worse. So those are the three things top of mind. If I'm going to repeat a certain press secretary who said it 30 million times earlier this week.
What?
Nothing. It was a joke over your head.
Yeah. No, I don't know, man. I think that I think that's part of the reason why, in my opinion, that this league this year could potentially be fun. I agree. But injuries happen every year. And so we always lose. I mean, there's always somebody that goes down.
They do.
From a fantasy perspective, that's why you have to have depth. That's why people draft handcuffs. I mean, so that's going to happen. But again, we've got some high-scoring teams. We've got some teams there's some teams that they're playing great defense. The team you're watching right now, the San Francisco 49ers, one of the best defenses in the league, hands down. The Eagles' defense, again, defensive lines. I mean, we've been talking about that for decades. If you can affect the quarterback, especially in today's NFL when they are calling so much more from the secondary and your corners are trying to make the game more explosive. If you can have a defensive line, or specific defensive line, that can affect the quarterback in the game, my gosh, man, you are going to win a lot of football games. And that's something that we're seeing across the league.
One little thing I've noticed this year, and I think it's been a good thing, and I won't spend too much, but I think the holding penalties against the offensive line are down, and I think it makes for a much more fluid game and more enjoyable game to watch on TV.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt. So that being said, let's go ahead and let's pop into our Dynasty, South Hill Dynasty recap. What you're kind of our Dynasty guru. Give us a rundown.
So, looking at who won this week, Isaac had a victory this week over me, and I am in prime position for that number one pick because you got a victory over Joe of all people. Joe lost. He's now 3-1. He's not in the driver's seat anymore, and the person that is Nicholas Pringle at 4-0. He gets a victory over Spencer. Joni Baloney gets a victory over Steve. Steve's sitting at 2-2. John is sitting at 2-2. And then Chris gets a victory over Dennis. Dennis doesn't have a great team. He only scored 48 points. No bueno. And then Dig and Doug gets a win over his arch enemy in Jason.
Well, I'll just point out that I want the number one overall pick in South Hill again. I want that number one pick. But each and every week, I'm going to put out the lineup that I feel is the best that I can produce, right? It just so happens that I've been choosing high, early, and often over the last couple of years. Put up 128.28 points. And I know we don't want to dive a lot into fantasy, but, I mean, Rashad Penny, Miles Sanders, Herbert, Olave. I mean, it's the team that I've got right now.
It's going to
win some football. It's going to win some. It's going to win some games. And I'm not particularly happy about it, but I'm going to compete every week.
Perfect. Good for me.
Yeah. Well, you and Hotep, you better not win one because Hotep Dennis is a horrible team. I mean, you put up 40 points. That's bad, man.
He's been in rebuild for like 4 years now.
Oh, I know, but he doesn't. But he never.
Didn't he draft the oldest team when we did the startup? And this is the consequence of doing something like that. Like
that's exactly right.
He's been rebuilding for 4 straight years.
That's exactly right. All right, let's go into week 4 A-League recap. There was some, I think it's across the. Oh, you got something else?
On our rundown here, I thought we had top performers before we went into A-League recap.
Yeah, we do. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Who are some of your top performers?
Quarterback position, I have Goff. Thanks Seattle's defense. Seattle's defense is atrocious. They can't cover anything or anybody. Brady efficient, but still gets the loss, and so that team might be in trouble if they don't figure some things out. I don't think they can beat some of the best teams in the league right now. And Mahomes, I just the way that offense is kind of working and clicking, you can't really lock down on anybody. Kelsey's really good. They're spreading the ball out, and Andy Reid's such a good coach.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. On the flip side, being in a position without a quarterback, or at least not an auto start every week, you're just, you've got to stream a quarterback and you got to try. And so I tried to outthink the room this week, and I played Marcus Mariota at home against the Browns.
Farlane, this section is top performers.
I'm giving the flip side of the top performer.
What are you doing? I'm
giving a little narrative right now to the flip side of the top performer, and that was Marcus Mariota, who ended up being my start. So that's where I'm at. So who's your top performer from the running back position?
Running back position, Josh Jacobs looked really good for the Raiders yesterday. He runs the ball hard. I think he should be given the ball more rather than less. And the first few years in the league, I don't think he's been given the ball enough. But he looked good yesterday. You had mentioned earlier, Rashad Penny, a lot of room to run against that Detroit defense. They're not very good either. I think that was the highest scoring game of the week in the NFL, and those defense just aren't good, and I don't think they're very well coached. And some of the players on both sides shouldn't be starting caliber players. I think Barton, in particular for Seattle, shouldn't even be on the NFL team. He has proven himself after many years now that he can't play in the NFL. The fact that I don't understand it.
Let me go ahead and interrupt you here. This is a top performers segment. Cody Barton doesn't make that list. So you said Rashad
Penny did. Yeah, Rashad Penny did. Austin Eckler, I thought he kind of came alive this week, and they used him coming out of the backfield. He just looked good moving. Then Dameon Pierce, he had that breakaway run. More speed than I think a lot of people gave him credit for, especially after the 40 time that he had at the Combine. But he's a strong runner, looks good. Good rookie pick for the Texans, and good pick for anybody who chose him in their fantasy leagues.
No, you're absolutely right. From the wide receiver position, some of our top performers, it started out on Thursday, and I thought was super cool to watch that. You kind of got the ball rolling. I have Tyler Boyd in a league. Or sorry, not Tyler Boyd. I have T. Higgins in a league. T. Higgins came out for 124 and a touch. I just want to touch real quickly, and we don't want to make this a 3-hour show, but I just want to touch on the wide receivers that have changed teams. Let's talk about, the Cheetah. our boy Tyreek Hill. My gosh, man, I had no idea that he was going to acclimate and be this type of wide receiver playing with the Miami Dolphins.
Neither did I. He was never going to be on one of my teams just for ethical reasons, even though you don't know what these people are like on the outside of the game. But he's got some of the best speed we've ever seen at the wide receiver position. And it's too bad that he doesn't have a quarterback, because Teddy Bridgewater can't throw the ball far. Tua can't throw the ball very far. So they're constantly underthrowing him. But he's doing a lot after the catch. Who's their coach, McDaniel? Is that the coach Mike that they have there? He does a good job of scheming and getting the ball in his guys' hands in advantageous situations.
No, you're 100% right. So some of the other big performers at wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, that game that was in London, Sunday morning, I was up, I was drinking some coffee. Those fellas who are beta men sleep in.
How were you feeling on Sunday? How were you feeling on Sunday?
Felt great. But the alpha men, we were up early watching that game, and Justin Jefferson started out fairly slow. I mean, his first half wasn't great, but boy, he started to separate himself. I think he went off for $140 and had a touchdown. So great performance by Justin Jefferson.
Fun to watch. I had Mike Evans also on my list. He catches the ball in traffic really well, and he got blasted a few times, but looked good. A rookie for the Saints, Chris Olave, he looks good.
Who's been on Chris Olave from Jump Street?
I thought that he was really high on my dynasty board coming out. I thought he was better than Wilson that the Jets drafted.
I did too.
Really good. And DK played like a man yesterday. And I don't think he scored a touchdown, but he had quite a few yards.
He had a touchdown,
good.
Did he? Did he have 140 in a touch?
Did he have 140 in touch?
Yeah.
Look, he looked good, and it's throw the ball to him a little bit more. Like, he's got a physical advantage over almost every single DB in the league.
Yep, and obviously tonight, Debo Samuel's having himself a game.
Debo, that was fun to watch.
So, yeah, it really was. So we're gonna typically tight ends is a tough one, but I have to address T.J. Hawkinson, Detroit, 179 yards and a touchdown. So just real quick, indulge me on this one, Dale. T.J. Hawkinson was a guy that I planted my flag on last year. I had him in every league I could possibly get, and Jared Goff just could not get him the ball. This year I drafted him in Steve's league. I did not draft him in A league, and his football receiving skills have never been in doubt. This man can catch the football. He can separate. He's fast. He's got a big catch radius. The problem was they just weren't feeding him. So I hope that this is the start of feeding T.J. Hawkinson. I mean, granted, the Seattle defense had a lot to do with it.
It did. I'm surprised that they don't try to target him more and get him the ball in easier situations and just maybe move him across the field and try to get mismatches with him. Like, he's too good of a player to not get him involved. And, Detroit put up a lot of points, a lot of yards with their top three performers out. That offense can click at times, but they just don't pick up victories. And so that's a testament to other aspects of their team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, listen, the boys and girls coming and listening to this, they want us to dive in and dissect the A-League matchups. So I'm gonna have you go ahead and start this. Drive the bus here, Dale.
Yeah, I'll drive the bus here. We'll start with mine and Andy's matchup, and I'm in big trouble right now.
Big trouble.
1-3. Andy's 3-1 after his victory over, and it wasn't even a close. I didn't put up a fight at all. I lost Taylor to an injury, which he's probably not going to play in the Thursday night game. I'm getting 0 points out of my tight end position. I just don't have a very good team. I don't think there's a lot of trades for me to make my team better. I just have to hope that my team turns it around somehow, some way. But I have an uphill climb. Andy's now 3-1. His team is pretty good, especially when he gets a good performance out of Lazard, who I really like. I like Lazard a lot. But for him, getting Dobbins back and involved and scoring touchdowns, Dobbins is a good player, and I think that it was good for them to hold him off a little bit before they put him into the season and get that knee a little bit stronger. So he's got a tough team. It's a balanced team. He gets David Montgomery back at some point this year. I'm in trouble.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with most of what you just said. But I'll also say with Andy, if Russell Wilson can play like the way that we thought he was going to play, Andy's going to have a tough team. I mean, that's getting 30 points out of your quarterback, you have to do that on a day-in, day-out basis. And then you look at your team. I mean, I'm surprised that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is playing as good as he is. I had a chance, and I know we'll talk about it a little bit later, but we had a chance to do a deal. Clyde was part of that deal. I turned down your deal for another deal because I wasn't sold on Clyde, and he's done nothing to score touchdowns to start the season. So whether or not that's going to continue, I don't know. I'm not betting on it to continue, but he's playing well to start.
Our next matchup is Jason versus Jonas, and Jason pulls out the victory here, even though Jonas scored quite a bit of points. They're now both going to be 3-1, so they're at the upper echelon within our league, and they got pretty good teams. Jonas gets a little bit dinged with Jalen Hurts not scoring nearly as much this week as he scored before, and I think that a lot of that had to do with how much rain was in that game, because that was an ugly game. That's hard for QBs. I expect Jalen Hurts to bounce back. But you look at his wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, and Lamb finally coming on. Lamb almost might be better with Cooper Rush at QB than Dak. I think that there might be a little bit of debate with that moving forward. He gets Nick Chubb in a trade with you, in which I mentioned I was shocked that you would trade him. I don't think it was a good trade for you. I think it's a good trade for Jonas long term. I always want to get the best player back in the deal. I kind of understand why you did it. Maybe you'll discuss that after I get done. But Jason's team, he's got Debo, Patrick Mahomes. It's just a very solid team. And then he gets a monster performance out of Hawkinson and Penny, and he gets only 0.9 points out of Amari Cooper. And that Amari is that player. It's so boom or bust, and he's going to go weeks without scoring you anything. Then he'll win you 1 week. And so trying to mitigate him, I think he's almost better in that flex spot. But he's got a balanced team. They're both going to be there, I think, in the end.
No, I agree with you, man. I think that, big performance with both of them. I'm gonna talk about Jonas' team for a second. So, the trade for you girls is I end up getting Kareem Hunt, Breece Hall, Chris Godwin for Nick Chubb, DJ Moore, and Johan Dotson. So Johan Dotson was a throw-in because I had to cut somebody, and so I gave him back, and now hurt his hamstring, which is a bummer for him. But here's the risk that you take, or that Jonas takes, when he made this trade. When you look at his running back situation right now, you've got Travis Etienne, Nick Chubb, you've got Gordon, Reynolds, Hubbard, Hill. So the guys we just mentioned, if you look at the Gordon and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the backup running back from Denver who's now going to get his play.
Boone,
thank you. Boone outsnapped Gordon. Gordon had 2 fumbles in that game. He's had 4 fumbles overall. So when I look at this,
I think they're going to go to Gordon. I think Gordon will be a starter.
Hold on a second. What you're looking at, Dale, is Travis Etienne, the running back share between Travis Etienne and James Robinson. Etienne has his percentage share of his rushes has gone down each and every week. Gordon's also dealing with an injury. So again, he got the best player in the trade. He needed it. I think he's got a good team. He's going to be able to weather some weeks. He scored 128 points. That's kind of when He's winning a bunch over the median, but that running back depth could potentially come back and bite you.
And then, so moving on to our next matchup here, we have Spencer versus you. Spencer killed you.
Yep.
You're in trouble. You're 1-3. Spencer's 2-2. I look at Spencer's team, and there's a lot to like about it. If Swift's going to be out for any amount of time this year, I think Jamal Williams is a good backup to have because he scores touchdowns. And if he gets that type of performance out of Eckler and Pierce, like even if Jamal Williams isn't putting up that type of production every week, I think he's got two solid starters there. Kyle Pitts is yet to kind of come on and perform the way that – but I look at his team. It's balanced. I like it right now. It makes sense. He's going to get Keenan Allen back too, which I think he was supposed to come back. He must have re-aggravated it in hamstrings. That's what happens if you try to come back too early. But like his team, your team, that quarterback is killing you. You were the last person to take one, and then you took Derek Carr. I can't believe you tried to rely on him. But you didn't even start him. You're starting Marcus Mariota, and he got you 3 points, and that's why you lose.
Yep. No, and even if I played Derek Carr, he got 11 points.
And you trade your best player.
Yeah, but even if you took, but if you took Chubb, you put in Chubb, you put in Derek Carr, I'm still losing by 20. Now here's the deal.
Yeah.
Let's specifically look at Spencer's team. What Spencer's going to do is not every game is going to be in Seattle Seahawks. So Jamal Williams is, as you said, yes, it's going to be that rushing touchdowns that are going to help. But he's going to be able to play Eckler and Pierce, right? Those are going to be his starters. His flex is going to be either Michael Thomas or Keenan Allen when they get healthy. And then you're rolling out Devontae
or even Jamal Williams, or even Jamal Williams if Swift comes back. I still think you could play him there in that flex.
Yeah, you can't. We don't play in a half-point PPR league. I think you got more. I just think he's got. I don't think his team's as bad as what he started out in. He's 2-2. He's in the thick of it. I still think that the way that my team is constructed right now, it's all upside. So I truly think, even at 1-3, don't put a fork in me yet, Dale, because you've got. I like the.
We are both close to going fishing for our line.
Yeah, not yet. I'm not gonna take too long. I love Breece Hall down the line or down the way. He looks incredible. So I think you're going to get RB1 production.
How can you possibly trust him with Wilson out there as QB? He is so bad.
They just beat the Steelers. They just beat the Steelers. He's getting the target share, man. He's getting the touches. He's getting the receptions. Either. Doesn't matter. He's got a lot of upside. Listen, we're not
moving on.
Not gone fishing yet.
We got Isaac and Pringle. Pringle 0-4. He's real close to going fishing. He's going to have to try to do something. You can't go 0-5 and expect to make the playoffs. I think you have to get a victory next week. He should be looking at his team. Who's his possible trade value guys? Like who could he get the most in a trade? It's Josh Allen. It's Christian McCaffrey. And you almost have to look for 3-for-1 to change the dynamic of that team to try to get something else, because you look at his bench, it's not good enough. There's nobody there. Maybe Brian Robinson comes back and can produce as a running back. But if I'm him, it's time to make a move. And looking over at Isaac, Isaac's now 1-3. His team showed up this week. Goff went off. Williams went off. Henry went off. He's got a really solid foundation there. I think looking at Akers is really that sore spot on his team, and I don't know if there's a consistent flex player that he could put in there. So Isaac maybe is looking for a trade or potentially somebody on the waiver wire to make up for Akers, who's not been very good since his Achilles injury.
Yeah, no, I think that's all well said. Again, Dennis is hard to trade with. Pringle's classic
Impossible.
trade line. Let me go and think about it. Trade done.
Never happens.
Never happens. So, but if I'm either one of them, what do you have to lose? I mean, especially if I'm Pringle, what the hell do you have to lose? I mean, I look at it the same way. Lost this week, but who's next?
We have our last matchup of the week. We have Cree and Dennis. Cree now falls to 2-2. Dennis is a surprising 3-1, and I don't know if it's smoke and mirrors. I don't know what look. Saquon Barkley has looked good. He was high on, I think, a lot of people's draft boards. He probably should have went higher than even where he went. He should have been a first round pick. I think I had him 6 overall in my rankings, and Cree. I don't know. I thought his team was a little bit better than what it was, and I thought Dennis's was a little worse than what it was. Like, Dennis wins with Lamar Jackson only getting 15 points. I think that's a testament to having a little bit better team than what I originally had predicted.
Yeah, Dennis's team is going to be scary. I hate to give him that, but Dalvin Cook's not always going to be the way he's rushing. Josh Jacobs isn't always going to get 34 points. But Mark Andrews isn't always going to get 1.5. You still got Mike Evans. He's back healthy. Brady's targeting the hell out of him. Tyler
and
Lockett
Dalvin Cook hasn't had a game yet this year.
Yeah, and then then you look at Cree's team again. I mean, I still think in my opinion, I still think the team's well constructed. He's got a lot of. He's got some options. I mean, Miles Sanders is on his bench right now. Instead of playing Robinson, he puts in Miles Sanders. We got a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
So no, that's
and DK too. And DK too.
And DK.
So there's a couple, looking at that's a couple of mistakes that you can't make.
Yep. So next we got Joey Meatballs and Palouse Posse.
And Joe is 3-1, Steve 2-2. Steve picks up the win. Just his team kind of showed up a little bit. Brady played well. Sutton, okay. Khalil Herbert. Now, if Montgomery comes back, is he still going to be in the mix to get the volume that you need to have him in a starting lineup? Jeff Wilson, he runs hard, and they're gonna feed him the ball. It looks like he's got 13 points here. So Joe loses a big piece to his team in Cordero Patterson. Like that's a big loss. He's a great flex play. He can get you points in the run game or in the pass game. And so Joe, I still like Joe's team. He'll score more points out of his wide receivers most weeks.
Yep, I agree. Steve asked me before this, hey, Jeff Wilson or Pollard, and I'm like, well, Pollard could be that splash play. Jeff Wilson's going to get the volume. He went with volume, and it paid off. So I think both of them they're not done yet. I think both good teams.
But Steve loses his first round pick. Javonte Williams out for the year with that ACL, and that sucks because I love watching him play. He forces missed tackles. They should be running the ball way more in Denver, but Russ is trying to cook and do his thing, not very well. And losing a player of that caliber hurts no matter what else you have on your team.
Well, yeah, I mean, Swift is out and Javonte Williams is out. So as Steve looks next week, he's got to replace Javonte, so probably slip in Pollard. He's got Treylon Burks, who now is out. So, yeah, he's got hit with some injuries. So for him to win this one and go to 2-2, it's a good step. He's gonna have to dig to try to fill up some production as he moves forward. So, but neither one of them are out yet. They're both decent teams. So with our A-League recap, let's move into one of our favorite sections of segments of the show: the great, meh, and shit of the week. Dale, what is your great of the week?
I have two of them. Hawkinson going off. That's a great. Anytime you have a borderline career day or a record at the receiving position, at the tight end position, And then watching that Debo Samuel run right before we came on here, that was great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my grade of the week is also 2. I was going to say T.J. Hawkinson, but I hate to do it, but Weedle putting up 154 points. Anytime you put up 150 burger, man, you had a great week. My other grade of the week is, and this is, listen, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Geno Smith has played better than anybody's expected. And I thought that...
Agreed. Better than I expected.
His completion percentage is one of the tops in the league. His QBR... I mean, he's playing really good football. Here's another difference between him and Russell. He's running the ball. I mean, they had like 4 designed runs, specific designed runs from this week. Anyway, greats of the week. Weedle, 150 burger. Geno Smith. It's against the worst defense in the league, but still, man, he's playing great. All right, now for our meh of the week.
My meh is, I think, the mediocre play on defense and offense across the league. I think some defenses are not very good, and they're showing it, and offenses are taking advantage of that. And then just the quarterback play, like Carolina and the Saints. And I can go Derek Carr for the Raiders, Wentz, Matt Ryan, like Wilson, just worse than even mediocre play. Just not very fun teams to watch play because they're so limited by the quarterback that they have there. And then some of the defenses just can't get pass rush, and teams take advantage of it, or they can't stop the run. So just a mediocre play across the league. I think that there's not been a lot of great play.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. So my meh of the week is, and I'm pulling a little deep here, but because Seahawks live in Seahawks land, I think that the college quarterback, at least the top 4 presumptive number 1 overall quarterbacks outside of Will Levis, are just meh. I mean, Bryce Young just hurt his shoulder. C.J. Stroud, he makes some just special plays, but Ohio State has the best skill, arguably the best skill position players in all of college football. And Tyler Van Dyke out of Miami hasn't played well. Anthony Richardson, who had he started out really well for Florida, but he just doesn't look ready. You got your boy from BYU who's looking okay, but still...
I've not seen enough of him to make a decision on him yet, but you're right when it comes to Young and Stroud. I am not on. To me, they're meh. I would not take them with a high pick. I'd probably take Levis, but he didn't look great in the game that he had this week. So I don't know. I'm taking Levis over all of them from what I've seen so far. I do need to go and watch the BYU kid, though.
Yeah, he's good, but he's. Again, nobody's just taking this and just absolutely running with it. I mean, like a Joe Burrow type season, or we knew when Trevor Lawrence came in at Clemson, you knew he was going to be the number 1 pick. All I'm saying is that it's now Will Levis. He has one of the worst offensive lines in football or in college football. But man, he's got every physical tool.
I guess here's the question, and we kind of talked about it when we were talking on Sunday. If given the opportunity, you got the first pick, you're the Seattle Seahawks. Do you draft Anderson out of Alabama, or do you take Levis?
Oh, if you have the number 1 overall pick and Will Levis doesn't hurt himself, you run to the podium with that number 1 overall pick, and then wherever Denver's at, there's some great interior defensive linemen coming out.
And what do you think Pete Carroll's going to do, though?
Oh, they'll love Levis. Because Levis he's as close to a physical profile as Josh Allen. I'm not saying he's Josh Allen, but I'm saying from a physical profile, Hauser of an arm, big kid, he can run. Yeah. And again, he has some interception issues. But Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, they threw a ton of interceptions their last couple of years in college. But anyway, that's my meh of the week. All right, Dale, for your shit of the week.
I have 2 injuries. They're always shit, especially when you have somebody who you really enjoy watching play, and you have a couple shares of them here and there. But watching Javonte get hurt, I hate seeing that because I like watching him play. And then mine and your fantasy teams. I really think we have to be objective and honest with ourselves. Our teams are shit.
Yep. My shit of the week was going to be my team. I scored the least amount of points in the entire A-League this week. Bad sit-start decisions, trying to outthink the room, going to be more clever than the next guy. I mean,
and I think not a very good, for me, not a great trade. I just don't like the trade.
Yeah. I mean, I dropped
especially
Tyler
when you had
Algier.
a better one on the table.
Yeah. I mean, A.J. Dillon, truth be told, he's not lighting the world on fire. So
No, he's not.
But, I mean, I dropped Tyler Algier to try to make room on my team. And then Tyler Algier is going to be one of the top waiver wire picks coming up tomorrow with Cordell Patterson out. I mean, it's just, it seems like bad decisions lead to bad decisions, and they just keep rolling. So my shit of the week, gins and wins it all. Going to be a little tough to win it all. All right, Dale. We got bold predictions of the week. Now, before we get into bold predictions, I just want to really quick say Andy was going to be the guest this week. Ended up
he welched on us.
He did. He welched us, but he welched with a lot of prior notice. He let me know early,
and that's fair.
And that is fair. And then I went to Joe next on the list, and Joe had an evening meeting. He was making that money, so I can't blame him for that. That's why there's no guest this week. We'll just start to pick it back up as we go.
Who
All right.
do we have next week?
Next week,
so they're aware.
It was going to be Joe, but we could move Andy to next week, and let's just keep it. I'll connect with Joe.
Let's keep the schedule.
Yeah, let's keep the schedule. It'll be Joe next week.
Okay.
So, as a recap, you had one of the worst bold prediction starts ever. You mixed up who was playing who, whatever. So you got a -1.
Yeah. I got a -1. I messed up.
And you said Cream of the Crop was going to win, and Cream of the Crop lost anyway. So that was a win. That was a loss. So
this is why I don't gamble, by the way.
That's right. So Dennis with a win over Cree, and so that was a W. He did say Kentucky money line. Kentucky lost. I ended up putting my money. I ended up taking the points on Kentucky, and I won. But we're going to put Dennis as a push. He got the win over Cree, -1.
Okay.
What I said was that, and it was bold, I said that the only person in our division that's going to get a win was me. I predicted the other three guys are going to lose. That didn't happen. So that's a -1 for me. So as we sit right now, our only semi-right half of a prediction came from Dennis's win over Cree. Otherwise, we are collective 0-6 right now. So we need to pick this up.
I think bold predictions, they're bold for a reason. They're not, look, these aren't gimmies. These aren't layups. These are you're going out on a limb and you're making it, not very easy to come through. That's why whoever has a winning record is going to, I think they're going to probably earn it. So my bold prediction this week, I think both Isaac and Steve get wins. So I'm gonna Isaac plays me, Steve plays Dennis, and so I think both of those teams get wins this week.
Okay, I got you down. So I thought a lot about this leading up to this, and it's just too spicy for me not to say Gins and Win It All is going to beat Jake Fincher. Here's the reason why I say this. We just pulled off this huge trade. It kind of feels like this is a freaking redemption type of game. He's got the best player. I got more players. So my bold prediction is Gins and Wins gets back on the win streak against Joni Baloney and he gets the W.
Here's your one downside here. I'm trying to look here and to see you're relying, though, on Carr to come through for you on Monday night against Kansas City. Look, I'm a Raider fan. And he's played them tough over the years. You're asking a lot out of somebody who I can't stand watching play.
Brady just put up 350 some yards and
I
3 or
know.
4 touchdowns. I think they're going to have to throw the football. I think Derek Carr goes for over 300 and a few scores. Marquise Hollywood Brown.
They're at
KC.
at Arrowhead.
Oh man, this is going to be Gabe Davis' coming out party.
Okay, well, good luck.
My only problem right now is what is Kamara doing? I can't believe we even mentioned him yet. I drafted him thinking this is a league winner. His legal issues
He had
are
a lot
well
of red
behind
flags hanging over his head to start the season with his criminal stuff. So
I just tell you, man.
Dennis Allen, probably not a great head coach. I don't like when teams draft from or transition from a coach within the same team within the last regime. It just never works out. I think it's so much better to start clean, bring in a guy that's bringing fresh ideas and new stuff. It just never really works out when you promote that defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator after a successful stint with a good head coach.
Yeah, no, I listen. I can't agree with
and
you
look
more.
for Peyton to be in Dallas next year. That writing's been on the wall a while, but look for that to happen. Anyway,
Absolutely.
I think that's our show.
Listen, man, great show, fellas. We love you. Best of luck this week, except Jonas.
Have a good week.
Yep, and we will be getting back to you next week. Peace.